I think the recording is on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let us start. Welcome back. Welcome back, all. We have successfully crossed 9 sessions of this FTP on recent trends in cybersecurity domains. So this could not be done without you participants. Thank you all. We are also looking forward for your continuous support and cooperation in the upcoming sessions. Now let us begin this session by inviting Dr. B. Balakumar, Assistant Professor, Center for Information Technology and Engineering, Manarmaniyam Sundarnar University, whose vision and sincere care on students' community makes them walk ahead with confidence. To introduce the resource person of this session, sir, please.
Thanks, Kavita Madam, for introduction about me. And let's come about our resource person. I find immense pleasure in introducing our today resource person. Dr. P Thiyagarajan did his integrated master's MS from prestigious College of Engineering, Gindi, Anna University, Chennai, and secured first class with distinction. He did his PhD from Pondicherry Central University. Immediately after his PhD, he was awarded with postdoctorate fellowship by Department of Atomic Energy, Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research. He served as founder faculty in Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Mahendra Egol, Central Hyderabad. He was the founder head of the Department of Computer Science, Central University of TamilNadu from 2016 to February 2020. During his headship period in Department of Computer Science, Central University of Tamil Nadu, he has introduced PhD in Computer Science in the year 2017 and MPhil in Computer Science in the year 2018. To his credit, he has done project worth of 5.7 crores funded by UGC, MHRD, ICSSR, and PMMNMTT. He has published papers in reputed journals and conferences, and so far, he has published 40 papers in journals, conferences, and workshops. He is a regular resource person to deliver invited talks in various colleges and universities such as NIT Trichy, NIT Puducherry, Bharatidasan University Trichy, Alagappa University Karaikudi, Sastra University Tanjavur, Pondicherry Central University Puducherry, and other reputed university and colleges. So far, he has delivered 100 plus invited talks in Tamil Nadu and other states. He is the coordinator of Computer Science Certificate course in Community College, Central University of Tamil Nadu, Thiruvarur. He is also a member in Board of Studies for various institutions such as Alagappa University, Karaikudi, ABBM Sri Puspam College, Pundi, Nehru Memorial College, Trichy, Sri Saraswati Thiyagaraja College, Pollachi, and others. International assignments, research proposal reviewer for National Science Center, Poland. And IEEE CAA Journal of Automatic Nika Multimedia Tools and Applications, IEEE Signal Processing, Letters, Computer and Electrical Engineering, elsewhere, 3D Research, Springer, and others. His research has been widely cited by researchers across countries, and so far, now he has got 150 citations with H-index 7 and I-10 index 3. Now, I invite Dr. P Thiyagarajan, sir, to share his expertise on essential of cryptography. Sir, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Balamurugan, for the nice introduction.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, welcome participants for the 10th session. So, just for the next 2 minutes, I'm going to outline what we are going to discuss for the next 1.5 hours. since the topic is very broad, it is essential of cryptography. So the lectures will be for 1.5 hours, and after the lecture, we will have the Q&A session. So the lectures will be played in the recorded version. We'll just summarize what we're going to see in the next 1.5 hours. First, we're going to see about what is cryptography and what are the complex terms, technical terms involved in cryptography. We're going to discuss about what are the different types of cryptographic keys available, what is encoded data, what is decoded data, what is encryption, decryption. Slowly we're going into the symmetric key algorithm, various symmetric key algorithms, and we discussed DES in detail, in symmetric key algorithm again in detail. Next, slowly we go into asymmetric key algorithm. In that we have focused on the RSA, and I have given some numerical example of how this RSA algorithm is being worked and how this encryption and decryption in RSA are reversible process. You know there is an encryption and there is a decryption. They are both reversible process. So through a mathematical proof, I have explained how this is a reversible process. Then we slowly begin into the hash, digital signature, and how the keys are distributed and how we can safely distribute the key between the communicating parties in the symmetric key communication. That is also being discussed. Next, we are going to discuss on digital certificate and digital envelope. So this is the flow of the presentation, and after the presentation, we'll have the Q&A session. Now, may I request Jayapriya Madam or Balamurugan sir to play the recorded video of the session, please?
Yes, sir. We will be. Yes, sir. We will.
Yeah.
In a minute, we will be playing.
A very good morning to one and all, and welcome you all for the 4th day of ATAL FDP on recent trends on cyber security domain, organized by Center for Information Technology Engineering, Monoalphabetic Ciphers. Myself, Dr. P Thiyagarajan, working as Assistant Professor in Department of Computer Science, Central University of TamilNadu, Thiruvarur. For the next one now, we're going to discuss on essential of cryptography. This is the agenda for the presentation. First, we are going to discuss on cryptographic keys, encoded and decoded data, data encryption and decryption, symmetric encryption, asymmetric encryption, hashes and digital signature, key distribution and digital certificate, and question and answers at the end. Before getting into the description of the cryptography, we need to know the basic terminology involved in that concept. First, we're going to discuss on plain text. So plain text is nothing but the original message, which is to be conveyed to the recipient. If you want to convey hello to the recipient, then the hello is known as a plain text. And the ciphertext is nothing but the coded message. In other words, layman terms, you can say that instead of conveying hello, I can modify this hello into unmeaningful text. So this unmeaningful text, we can call as a coded message, or it can call as a ciphertext. Third terminology is nothing but cipher, which is nothing but an algorithm that is used for mainly transforming this plain text to the ciphertext. Key is nothing but information which is used in the cipher to transfer the plain text to the ciphertext, and this key will be known only to the communicating parties. Only the sender and receiver will have the knowledge about the key. Next, we have encipher, or otherwise called as encrypt, which is the process of converting the plain text to the ciphertext, is known as encrypt. Next, we have decipher, or otherwise called as decrypt. It is a process of recovering the plain text from the ciphertext, that is known as decrypt. Next, we have cryptography. So the cryptography is nothing but study of encryption and decryption principles or methods. So study of this encryption and decryption algorithm is popularly known as cryptography. And cryptanalysis is nothing but study of principles or study of methods of deciphering the ciphertext without knowing the key. So in other words, we can put in a simple term like cryptanalysis is nothing but with the help of ciphertext, how we can get the plain text. So this process involved the breaking of ciphertext without having any knowledge about the key, and recovering the correct plain text is known as a cryptanalysis. Last, we have cryptology. So cryptology is a field of study of both cryptography and cryptanalysis. These are some of the basic terminology involved in cryptography. This is a nice diagram which explains in language of cryptography. So imagine that we have two communicating parties. So we have allies and we have bar. Alice wants to send a message to the Bob. So as I said, the message which is to be conveyed is known as a plain text, and we can convert this plain text into the ciphertext using the encryption algorithm and with the help of key. So this key is nothing but, see here, Bob wants to send that to Alice. So now we are using Alice encryption key, that is KA. So using this KA and the plain text, we'll convert the plain text into the ciphertext using the encryption algorithm. Then this encryption, then the ciphertext will be passed on to the transmitting medium, and this ciphertext will be reaching to the Alice. Then on reaching this prescribed ciphertext to Alice, now Alice want to decrypt the ciphertext. So again, we have to use the decryption algorithm, and for the decryption algorithm, they will use Bob's decryption key, and then we'll obtain the plain text. So this is the overall. There are some concepts involved that I will discuss in the course time, but please keep in mind that plain text can be converted into ciphertext with the help of encryption algorithm and a key. Similarly, a ciphertext can be converted into the plain text with the help of decryption algorithm and a key. So you can see that in between the encryption algorithm and the decryption algorithm, this ciphertext is being communicated, and in the middle we have the eavesdroppers, or we can call as hackers. So the hacker's main job is that to steal the information which is being communicated. So this picture helps us to understand a higher level view of cryptography. So in cryptography in general, we have two different kinds of algorithm. First is nothing but symmetric key algorithm. In the symmetric key algorithm, the key which is used for both encryption and decryption will be identical. So that is known as symmetric algorithm. Whereas another different version of algorithm we have in the cryptography is nothing but public key algorithm, or rather it's probably called as private key cryptography. So this public key cryptography will contains both two different keys. One is called as a public key, and another is known as a private key. We'll discuss that in detail in the due course of the presentation. So requirements for the cryptography algorithm. So any cryptography algorithm, if we take, what are the requirements that is expected from any cryptography algorithm? So if you take any cryptographic algorithm, these are the 5 parameters that is being expected highly from the cryptographic algorithm. First is nothing but confidentiality, integrity, availability, authenticity, and non-repudiation. We'll discuss each of the terms in detail, but popularly these 3 are very, very important, and they are called as short term as CIA, nothing but confidentiality, integrity, and availability. As a very, very core component of any cryptographic algorithm. Any cryptographic algorithm should, out of the 5, these are a very primary component, and this has to be addressed by any cryptographic algorithm. They are nothing but confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Other 2 are additional features like authenticity and non-repudiation. So we discuss what is each and every one of the parameters of the cryptographic algorithm that is expected. First is nothing but confidentiality. So what is confidentiality? The confidentiality requires that the information in the computer system should be accessible by the intended parties or by the authorized parties. Imagine that A and B want to communicate, Alice and Bob want to communicate. The message which is to be communicated from Alice to the Bob should be accessed only by Alice and Bob. No other person should be able to get this information. So that is known as confidentiality. If I'm sending a message to my HOD, my only HOD should view the message. In between the persons should not able to view the message. That is known as confidentiality. Second is nothing but integrity. So the integrity is nothing but a process by which we can make sure that the message which is being communicated from the sender to the receiver is not being tampered by any intruders. That's what he said, as integrity requires, the computer system as said, can be modified only by the authorized parties. In other words, you should not be authorized by any other person apart from the sender and receiver. If anyone modifies the message which is being communicated from the sender and receiver, then with the help of integrity, we can able to check whether the message has been modified or not. If I'm sending a message if the message is being transmitted from Alice to Bob, no other person should be able to modify the message except A and B, Alice and Bob. It is called as integrity. Third, we have availability. So availability is nothing but availability requires the computer system assets are available to the authorized person. When Alice and Bob are communicating, at any point of time, when Alice and Bob is requesting the message, that has to be available. There is no availability. Fourth concept, this is nothing but authenticity. So authenticity means the parties in an information service can ascertain the identity of the parties trying to access information. Imagine that Alice is sending a message to the Bob. Here, person has to prove the identity. Like whenever I want to access my email account, I have to prove that Thiyagarajan is accessing his own email account. How will you prove that Thiyagarajan is accessing his own email account? By using the user credentials. Only if I give the correct email address and the correct password, I will be authenticated to access my email inbox. So it means that only the correct parties, the correct authenticated party should be able to access the information that is ensured by the authenticity. Last is a very interesting parameter, which is something called non-repudiation. So non-repudiation is nothing but in any message which is being communicated, there will be a source and there will be destination. This non-repudiation is a mechanism by which we can prove the message is originated from whom. Imagine that Alice is sending a message to the Bob. The message is sent from Alice and reaches Bob, and Bob received the message. Later, Alice should not, Alice can deny that this message is not sent by me. There may be a situation that it may encounter that Alice denies that he doesn't send this message. So in that case, this non-repudiation parameter will help us to fix that this message has been sent only from Alice to Bob. This method of proving that message has been originated from a particular source is being done by the non-repudiation. Very important parameter. If I send a message to my counterpart, later I cannot deny. I will be proved that I have only sent the message. And later, if I deny also with that proof, the counterpart able to prove that this message was originated by me. The non-repudiation always proves the originator of the communication. Whoever initiated the communication will be proved by non-repudiation. Later, he cannot deny that. These are the 5 important requirements that is being expected from any cryptographic algorithm. So we see that during the course of time, how this has been addressed. So next, symmetric encryption. So this symmetric encryption is also known as secret key encryption, single key encryption, or conventional encryption. So here the sender and the recipient, as I said, symmetric key encryption. A symmetric algorithm is also known as symmetric key encryption. Here, the sender and recipient share the same common key. The key for the sender and receiver will be common. Okay, so the keys will be common. So sender and receiver shares the common key, and this is what the most popularly used algorithm in the early 1970s. This is the pictorial representation of the symmetric cipher model or symmetric algorithm. This picture has been taken from the Cryptography Network Security by William Starling's book, a very, very famous figure which explains the symmetric cipher model. As I discussed the basic terminology, we have a plain text, and this plain text has been given as an input for the encryption algorithm. One more input for the encryption algorithm is nothing but a secret key. So with the help of the secret key and with the help of the input text, this encryption algorithm will convert the plain text into the cipher text. So this cipher text will be transmitted to the recipient. Recipient, on receiving the cipher text, will now able to decipher, or it will now able to get, or able to separate the plain text from the cipher text with the help of the encryption algorithm and the secret key. Here, as I said, the same key will be shared by the sender and the receiver. So in the recipient part, the key which is used for encryption is again used for the decryption, and that key will be given as an input. Another input for the decryption algorithm is nothing but the cipher text. So this cipher text and the key will be given as input for the decryption algorithm, and the decryption algorithm will give plain text as an output. This is the model of symmetric key algorithm. So now that's a pictorial representation. Slowly we will use some notations and we'll be able to understand what is the symmetric key algorithm or symmetric key cryptography. So as I said here, Bob wants to communicate a message to Alice. So as I said, the plain text is nothing but M, and the key which is being used here is nothing but KAB. So K and suffix you can write A-B. So this key will be acted on the plain text M, and this encryption algorithm take these two input, and we will have a cipher text. So this cipher text will be denoted as K to B of M. It is nothing but the key will be operated on the message. That is what the ciphertext will denote as K A B of M. So now for the decryption algorithm, we have two inputs. Again, the same key used for the encryption will be given as an input. And now we have KAB as an input for the decryption algorithm. Another input for the decryption algorithm is nothing but KAB of M. So now the decryption algorithm will take this input and we will get the message as an output. How will we get a message as an output? See here. So how will we get? Already we have the ciphertext as K A minus B of M. Now if you give the ciphertext as well as the key as an input, the output will be K of A to B. Inside that function will have KAB of M. So after processing the decryption algorithm, we'll get M. The KAB will cancel, and then we'll get M as an output. That is nothing but the plain text. What is a plain text? M is a plain text. So the description algorithm will get the M. So this is a mathematical notation of pictorial representation of symmetric algorithm. So here the Bob and Ali share the same key. What is the key here? K A minus B is the key. So as I said, this is known only to the communicating parties. The key will be known only to Alice and the Bob. So the key is knowing substitution pattern. So we'll see that in detail what is the key being used. But this is we'll slightly introducing some notations of mathematics to this symmetric cryptography. So the two requirements of secure use of the symmetric encryption is nothing but strong encryption algorithm. Yeah, secret key that is known only to the sender and receiver. And in the encryption algorithm, this is a very, very important concept. Please see, the encryption algorithm will work on the key and the message X, and the encryption algorithm output will be the ciphertext. And this ciphertext will be given as an input for the decryption algorithm. So decryption algorithm, if you see here, DK of Y. So the decryption algorithm will use the key and it will operate on the ciphertext Y. So and after the decryption algorithm, output will be X. So this is the mathematical notation of encryption decryption algorithm. So please note that carefully. So this is a very simple encryption algorithm we have seen, symmetric encryption algorithm. And always, this is a very important slide, so you will be concentrate. So cryptography is always characterized by the type of encryption operation used. There are many type of encryption operations we may use. One is nothing but substitution, transposition, product. And as I said, there are two different kinds of key. One is nothing but a single key, or we can use two keys. So for now, we have seen the symmetric key structure, but then we can also use two different kinds of keys for the encryption, and one key for the encryption, one key for the decryption. And what is the way by which we can able to operate on the plain text? Either we can operate on the block, or we can able to operate on a bit-by-bit process. These are some of the characteristics of the cryptography. So encryption algorithm can be either substitution, transposition, or product, and the key may be either a single key or it may be a two key, or in other ways, the way by which we can process the plain text or ciphertext, it can be either a bit or it can be a block. These are the different characteristics of the cryptography algorithm. So some more definitions on the cryptography before going into the details. This is nothing but uncomputational security and computational security. So no matter how the computer power is available, the ciphertext cannot be broken, since the ciphertext provides insufficient information to uniquely determine the corresponding plain text. So imagine that let's say any algorithm, cryptographic algorithm, can be broken given sufficient amount of time, sufficient amount of computing infrastructure. This uncomputational security is when no matter how much computer power is available, the ciphertext cannot be broken, since the ciphertext provides insufficient information to uniquely determine the corresponding plain text. So even if you give the largest available computational resource to the hacker, you can give, if you give only the ciphertext and you never give anything about the algorithm and you never give anything about idea about the key, then it will be really a tough part to the hacker to crack the ciphertext into the plain text. And another is nothing but computational security. So in that, given limited computing resources, the ciphertext cannot be broken so that we can get the plain text from it. So these are some of the definitions that is associated. Next, now we are going to see some of the basic symmetric cryptographic algorithm. So where the characteristics of the plain text will be modified into a ciphertext, And we're going to see how the ciphertext from the ciphertext and with the help of the same key used between the encryption and the decryption, we're going to get the plaintext from the ciphertext. The first very basic symmetric algorithm is nothing but Caesar cipher. It's called a Caesar cipher. So it's one of the oldest method of symmetric cryptographic algorithm. And this algorithm is also known as substitution cipher. So this is a very, as I said, it's a very, very old algorithm and it is mainly used in the military affairs. So I'll explain this algorithm through a small example. So please look into this text. Meet me after the toga party. Let it be the text. So now I want to transmit, and Bob wants to transmit this message to allies. But then this message, Bob decided to use the encryption algorithm to convert this plain text, which is the plain text here. Meet me after the toga party is nothing but the plain text. So Bob doesn't want to send this plain text directly to the allies. So he decided to use the symmetric cryptographic algorithm. So what does he do? He just want to convert this plain text to the ciphertext. So for converting the plain text to the ciphertext, what are the three things we need? We need the encryption algorithm, we need the plain text, and we need the key. So now Bob designed an encryption algorithm which will take this plain text, and he designed an algorithm, and he has a key also. So what he do? He just taken each and every letter from here. For example, he takes M, and he put +3 over the M. +3 in the sense take M here. So we have alphabets A to Z. He takes M and he takes 3 letters after M. So what is the third letter after M? N, O, P. So he takes each letter and he add, and he takes 3 letters and substitute. He takes the alphabet here and he substitute that alphabet with third alphabet from it. For example, if I take M here, what is the third alphabet from M? 1, 2, 3. It's nothing but P. So instead of M, I will put P. Similarly, take E. We have E. What is the third alphabet from E? 1, 2, 3. H. So E will be substituted by H. So he will take each and every alphabet from the plain text and he will substitute the third alphabet from that given alphabet in the plain text. So like that, if you substitute next alphabet is T. So T. What is the third alphabet from T? 1, 2, 3. W. So T instead of T, we will put W. So for the meat, we have the ciphertext as PHSW. Similarly, it will be converted for all of these characters in the plain text. Look at the Y. Look at P. So P is here. So what is the third letter from P? QRS. So P will be substituted by S. A. A is here. What is the third letter from A? D. So A will be substituted with D. What is R? What is the third letter from R? R. Third letter from R is U. So R will be substituted with U. What is the third letter from T? Third letter from T is W. So T will be substituted by W. And what is the third letter from Y? Y is here. What is the third letter? We have 1 here. But we don't have any letters after Z. So it will be occurring in a cyclic form. So after Z, we'll go for A. So what is the third letter after Y? It is number 1, 2, 3. It is nothing but B. Or after Z, we'll conclude. After Z, we'll have A, B, C. It will be like cyclic. So after Y, we'll have B. So each and every alphabet will be taken from the plain text and we will convert into the ciphertext with the help of the Caesar cipher. So what does it do? What is the key here? The key is nothing but 3 is the key. What is 3 is the key? It will take each and every alphabet from the plain text and will substitute the third alphabet from the taken input alphabet. So that will get the ciphertext. So you may ask how this ciphertext will be taken from the ciphertext, how will it receive the plain text? So now this ciphertext will be communicated to the Bob allies. Bob will communicate the ciphertext to the allies. So allies on receiving this ciphertext, again, as I said, the key has to be communicated to the sender and receiver. So in symmetric algorithm, same key will be used. So now allies also will know that the key is 3. So he will take P and he will reverse instead of moving forward. So encryption algorithm will move forward. Decryption algorithm will move 3 alphabets behind. For example, it will take P. This is a ciphertext. So it will take P. So it will take, it will go behind the 3 alphabets. What is the third alphabet behind? M. So we will put M. And what is H? H is here. So a third alphabet behind is nothing but E. So a third alphabet behind the H is nothing but E. Again, it will take W. The third alphabet behind 1, 2, 3 is nothing but T. So it will convert to T. So P, H, S, W will convert into meat. So this is how the decryption algorithm works. So as I said, it will subtract C. So the encryption algorithm will look like P plus K mod 26, and the decryption algorithm will look like C minus K mod 26. So one thing is that we can also use some of the transformation for the Caesar cipher, like instead of directly mapping A with A, we can map A with D, B with E, like this kind of transformation can also be done. Like we can have a table that will be shared between the sender and the receiver, which is, this is a transformation table. So in this transformation table will be shared only between the sender and the receiver. So each and every letter M will be included as P, and each and every alphabet N will be included as Q. So this using transformation also the Caesar cipher works. Another way of Caesar cipher is that instead of mapping an alphabet to an alphabet, what we can do, we can map the alphabet to a number, like A is 0, B is 1. Similarly, we can map. Similarly, Z as 25. So instead of having alphabet to the alphabet, we can also have alphabet to a number, and we can also work on this Caesar cipher. So now we'll see what will happen if you do the cryptanalysis of a Caesar cipher. Already we discussed what is cryptanalysis. Cryptanalysis is nothing but concept of breaking the cryptographic algorithm. Like somehow we have to get the plain text of the ciphertext. So that process of getting the plain text of the ciphertext is known as a cryptanalysis. So far we have seen the Caesar cipher, and all the Caesar cipher is acting only on the alphabets. And we all know that the maximum alphabet which is available, which is nothing but 26 alphabets are available. So we know the alphabets are from A to Z. So what we can do is, since the alphabet, the space which you are taking, the set which you are taking is nothing but A to Z, which is nothing but 26 in number. We can try the many different possible combinations of alphabets, and we can always break, provided if we have a sufficient computing infrastructure and given a sufficient amount of time, we can always be able to crack these kind of algorithms. So by brute force attack. So generally trying every possible combination to break the ciphertext into the plain text, it will be called as a brute force attack. So brute force search is something by trying all possible combinations. So what will happen? 26 this letter is there, so all possible combinations will be very less. And given the computational infrastructure and time, it will definitely be able to crack with this. For example, take the Caesar cipher algorithm which we discussed. So in order to break this algorithm, you can always use one key as, now we've seen an example where we use 3 as an example, but what will happen if the key is, if a hacker doesn't know what is algorithm you are using and what is a key, imagine that, it doesn't have any clue about it, but he can always try the key as 1, 2, 3. So if we keep on trying it, some more time you will get this plain text from the ciphertext. So you can able to easily crack it. So the brute force attack, the brute force search is a major cryptanalysis attack that can be experienced on the Caesar cipher, because the space is very, very small. It's nothing but we have 26 alphabets. So given the ciphertext, we can able to try all the systems of the letter, and we can easily able to break it. So this is what, as I have said, this is the slightly mathematical notations I have introduced in the symmetric key encryption algorithm. This is plain text. The key which is used by the sender and receiver is nothing but KAB. It is a symmetric key, so the keys will be common, same, and this plain text will be converted to the ciphertext, and ciphertext and key will be given as input for the decryption algorithm to get the plain text. Next, we're going to see another interesting symmetric key algorithm is nothing but monoalphabetic cipher. So the monoalphabetic cipher is a cipher in which the letters of the plain text are mapped to ciphertext based on single alphabet key. So the cipher line can be any permutation of 26 alphabet character. So we will see how this monoalphabetic cipher works. So it's basically all these algorithms will take this cipher as a base, and then it adds some kind of additional feature to it. So in monoalphabetic cipher, the cipher in which the letters of the plain text are mapped to the ciphertext based on the single alphabet key. So instead of using the same key for throughout the conversion of plain text into ciphertext, they will use a single alphabet key. For each and every conversion of the plain text to the ciphertext character, it will use a single alphabet key. And this in monoalphabetic cipher, the statistics analysis is a very crucial attack. So in English, if you take the most frequently letter alphabets is nothing but E and T. So like in the words, if we ask the most frequently used words is nothing but D and IN. Similarly, the most used alphabets in English is nothing but E and T. So this feature is being exploited by the hackers to break this monoalphabetic cipher. So type of cryptanalytic attacks in this cipher and the monoalphabetic cipher is nothing but ciphertext only, known plain text, and chosen plain text. So what is ciphertext only? So only you know the algorithm or you know only the ciphertext, and with the help of this statistical parameter, you can always identify the plain text. Another attack is nothing but which is possible on the monoalphabetic cipher is nothing but known plain text attack. So if you know the plain text and or you can easily suspect the plain text, and you can also easily crack the algorithm. Third is nothing but chosen plain text attack. So select the plain text and obtain the ciphertext to attack the cipher. So give randomly a plain text and the algorithm gives a ciphertext. Now we can able to map how this algorithm works because you know the input and got the output from the algorithm. So now we can easily figure out what is the inner process that is taking place within the algorithm. This is known as chosen plain text attack. So now we explore what is a brute force search. As I said, the brute force is nothing but exploring all possible combinations. So that is known as the brute force search. So there is a table given below here, which says there are 32 key size, which is nothing but 32. So if there are the key size is 32, imagine that the number of possible keys. The number of possible keys is nothing but 2 power 32. You know, bits always comes in zeros and ones. So number of possible combination of keys nothing but 2 power 32, which is equal to 4.3 to 10 power 9. So imagine that the time required for one encryption is nothing but 35.8 minutes. So in order to try all possible combinations of this key, the key size is 32, we need approximately 2.15 milliseconds. That's very, time required is actually given at 10 to the power 6. So it's very huge. So imagine that as we keep on increasing this key size, then the time required to crack the particular algorithm with the key size, which are varying key size, will keep on increasing. For example, if the key size is 168, then the brute force attack, with the help of the brute force attack to crack the particular algorithm which having the key size of 168, we need around 5.9 into 10 power 30 years, which is very, 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 very large. Okay. So this is a very good example of a chosen plain text. Since it's one hour, I didn't have much time to put diagram for others. This is a chosen plain text attack. So here, see that the group 1 changes his PIN number in the ATM in his ATM. So he's once he changes his PIN number, so that PIN number will be transmitted to the bank. So now group 2, who is the hacker in between? Imagine that. He drops on the wire. So he drops on the wire where it is transmitting the changed PIN. So he can easily poke into that and he can learn the ciphertext corresponding to the plain text. You know the PIN is only of 4-digit number. So if you can take the ciphertext and you can easily, you can keep the, you know that it is a ATM PIN because that line of communication is dedicated for transmitting the PIN, then this group 2 will easily know that this is a PIN number which is being communicated, and since it knows that is a PIN which is being communicated, it is known as a chosen plain text attack. Next, we will see this polyalphabetic encryption. So again, a variation of this monoalphabetic encryption. In polyalphabetic cipher, it is based on substitution, or we can use a single substitution, or it is using the multiple substitution. So we'll see that this is polyalphabetic encryption, I think, but the combination of monoalphabetic cipher as well as the Cipher cipher. So next we have the transposition cipher. So transposition cipher, it's a classical transportation, or nothing but a permutation of the ciphers. So what is permutation? You all know, you might have studied in mathematics. Permutation is nothing but arrangements. You can say the arrangement is known as the permutations. So this permutation has been used cleverly by this cryptographer for designing these transposition ciphers. So these hides a message by rearranging the letter in a particular order. So given a message, for example, if we have hello, so instead of HELLO, if I say ELHLO, if I say that instead of HELLO, I say ELHLO. So that's a meaningful text. What I did here, nothing, I just arranged the words jumbled in a random order. This is known as the transposition or the permutation ciphers. The very, very popular algorithm again. This transposition is previously we seen Cipher, right? Cipher was substituting, we are replacing alphabet with another alphabet. So it's called substitution cipher, but that is not substitutions. Now we're going to transposition. Transposition means always arranging, rearranging things. So imagine that I have a hello world as an example. What I will do, I will take 3 rows and 4 columns like matrix. So I will have see here, I have 4 columns and I have 3 rows, and I'm trying to accommodate this hello world inside it. So if I calculate this, if I put this hello world from left to right, it will be HELL in the first row. In the second row, I'll have 0 W O W O R, and in the third row I have LD. So see here, if I can cleverly put this hello world into this 3 rows and 4 column matrix, then I can convert this plain text. Plain text is hello world. I can convert this plain text easily to the ciphertext. How will I convert this ciphertext? Instead of reading from row, I will read from column. So what will happen if you read from column? Actually, it will say HOL EWD LOLR. That's all. Very simple. So that way we can able to arrange this plain text into by shuffling the words randomly in different order, we can able to get this ciphertext. This is one such example of transposition cipher. Another example of a transposition cipher is nothing but real fence cipher. So if I have imagined that I have the plain text has defined the east wall. So what I will do, I will not write this the plain text in a single line. What I will do, I will write it in a zigzag way. You know, zigzag. Zigzag is like this, like a W, continuous W. So instead of writing that define the east wall, I will write this in a zigzag way. So I will write it as D, E, F, E. See, the first letter D will come top and E will go down. Again, F will go up and E will come down. N will go up, D will come down. So as I illustrated in this PPT, I can write this plain text in a zigzag way. After writing this plain text in the zigzag way, what I can do is that I can read. Now I can read this. In order to get the ciphertext, I can read row by row. If I read row by row, it will be D, F, N, T, E, A, T, A, L, and space. And the second row, if I read, it will be E, D, H, E, S, W, L. So this will be the ciphertext. That's true. So this is how you can able to get the ciphertext. So now, by this, with the help of the ciphertext, again we can go to the plain text. So how we can go this plain text? Read one letter from the first word and read one letter from the second word. I have 2 words in this ciphertext. So in order to get the plain text from the cipher, any cryptographic algorithm should have encryption as well as decryption algorithm. So now we got the ciphertext. Now we should have used the decryption algorithm. From the decryption algorithm, output should be the plain text. So if I use the decryption algorithm in this input on the same key, I should get the plain text different they want. We'll see how we'll get the plain text here. So to get the plain text here, read one alphabet from the first word and read another alphabet from the second word. What is the first alphabet in the first word? D. Now read the first alphabet from the second word. It is nothing but E. So now we got the word D, E. So but it's not complete. Second, we have to read the second word from the second alphabet from the first word. What is the second alphabet from the first word? It is nothing but F. Similarly, second alphabet from the second word is nothing but E. So D, E, F, E we got. Again, we'll read third alphabet from the first word. It is nothing but N. Then we'll read here third alphabet from the second word. So it is nothing but D, E, F, E, and D. So in this way, if you read, you can able to get the plain text from the ciphertext. Next, we have the row transposition cipher. It's again a very important cipher. You may think why I'm discussing all these things. These are very, very important things. And these small concepts is put in the bigger algorithm. So at the time of discussing this bigger algorithm, you can able to really appreciate what is this transposition is for. Next is nothing but row transposition cipher. So now imagine that I have a plain text, attack postpone until 2. So imagine that there is an attack that is being planned by the military and they want to communicate that to the counterpart. So the plain text is nothing but attack postponed until 2 a.m. This is what the message that they want to convey. So how I will do is that again, as I said, I can able to write this plain text in a form of a matrix. So what I have done here is that I have 4 rows and I have 7 columns, and I have tried to fit in this plain text into this 4 rows and 7 columns. So if I try to fit in this plain text into the 4 rows and 7 columns, it will be like this as dictated in the PPT. So now after putting this plain text in 4 rows and 7 columns, I will read, I need to have the ciphertext. So to have the ciphertext, I have the key. So the key is nothing but 4312567. So what I will do, see, this is the key by which you can able to get the ciphertext. So where is 1? So 1 is in the 3rd column. So that will be the first piece of word in the ciphertext. So it is nothing but TTNA. And second key is nothing but here I have 2. So I have to read the column which is pointing towards the 2. It is nothing but APTM. Next, this 3 is here. So the column pointing to 3 is nothing but TSGU. Similarly, if you do, I will get the ciphertext. Again, if you see from the ciphertext, we need to get the plain text. So from getting the plain text from the ciphertext, I will write this ciphertext. How will I write the ciphertext? I will write the ciphertext the reverse way. So in the plain text, I have written as 4 rows and 7 columns. But to get the plain text from the ciphertext, I will write it as 4 columns and 7 rows. So I'll write it as TTNA, APTM, TSUO, AODW, COIX, KNLY, PETZ. See here? So I will return this ciphertext into 4 columns and 7 rows. So now I'm just asking you a question. Again, you have to use the same key. The key is nothing but 4312567. So how you will convert this ciphertext in the plain text? Can you please think for a second so that I give the answer? So now this key will be given in the column wise. So this will be 4, this will be 3, this will be 1, this will be 2, this will be 5, this will be 6, and this will be 7. So what is the first letter in this first column? Is nothing but A. So it is nothing but 431. This is the 1, so we will take A. So what is the second? So it should be 4 E 1. Yeah. How will you work on this algorithm so that we can get the plain text on the ciphertext? So the key, as you know, is 4312567. So what is the fourth? What is the fourth row? Fourth row here is nothing but A. So we'll take A. So next, what is the third row? We'll take the first character on the third row, is nothing but T. Next, we will not go to 2. We'll go to 1 because the key says 431. What is the first row? First letter is nothing but T. So I have A, T, T. Next, I have to go to the second row as per the key. So now we have A. So now we have A, T, T, A. Next, we have to go to the fifth row. Yes, as per the key. So now we have A, T, T, A, C. Next, we have to go to the sixth row. So what is sixth row? K. So now we have A, T, T, A, C, K. Next, we have to go to the seventh row as per the key. So now we have A, T, T, A, C, K. Now we have P also. So now we have the plain text as A, T, T, A, C, K. Now P. Next, again come to the second column and we have to apply the key. So now what is the key? We have 4312567. So 1 points to 4, 3. Yeah, we have to go to the 4. So already we have P. So now P will be associated with O and P will be associated with S. T. So now we have attack post. So if you go like this, you can able to get the plain text as attack postpone until 2 a.m. This is how this row transposition cipher works. I hope you are all getting through this example. Next, we have the product ciphers. The cipher using substitution or transposition are not secure because of the language characteristic. As I said, this English language has a very peculiar characteristic, and space in which we can work is very limited. We have only 26 alphabet. That is a big restrictions. Hence, considering using several ciphers, though we have substitution and transposition, since the space is very limited, and that will be a weak point for us to design any strong cryptographic algorithm on the alphabets. So now to overcome that, we have this product cipher. So hence considering several ciphers in succession to make harder, but we can use two substitutions, and which will make, instead of making one substitution, if we make two substitutions, that will make the complex substitution. Or otherwise we can make two transpositions that will make much complex transposition. Or otherwise we can make substitution followed by transposition that will also make the algorithm much tougher. So you all know what is the substitution. So best example of the substitution is something but Caesar cipher, and best example for transposition just now we discussed attack postpone algorithm like monoalphabetic cipher. So if you use the combination of this substitution and this transposition, then the cryptographers think that this algorithm is able to produce much higher secure cryptographic algorithm, though the restriction is there in the English language itself. So one such is nothing but idea is nothing but one-time pad algorithm. This is a product-based cipher. We'll see that. So now imagine that Bob wants to transmit something message to Alice. So the message may be in binary. So let the message be 10111101, and the key is nothing but 00110010. So in the one-time pad, the most important point which you should note is that the key size will be always equal to the size of the plain text. It's a very important point you should note on the one-time pad. The key size will be always equal to the plain text. So if you see here, the plain text size and the size of the key will always be same. And if you use the XOR operation, like if you use the XOR operation, you will get 10001111. This ciphertext will be transmitted, and this ciphertext on reaching the recipient part, again he has to decode the ciphertext to get the plain text. So again, to decode this ciphertext, again, this in one time, but the same key will be used. I said now we are dealing with the symmetric key, the same key will be used. So if we XOR a ciphertext with this key, again we can able to get the plain text. So this is how this algorithm works. See in the right hand side. So we have now the ciphertext and we have the key. So ciphertext plus key will give the plain text. But the inner process, how it is go, the ciphertext, the XOR key will have, what is ciphertext? Ciphertext is nothing but plain text XOR key. So ciphertext I have substituted with plain text XOR key plus the XOR key. So now you know XOR key and XOR key will be the key. So now we'll get, it will get cancelled and we'll get the key. So this is how this one-time code algorithm works. The most important point is that the size of the key will be always equal to the size of the plain text. So cipher achieve perfect secrecy one and only if there are as many key as possible with respect to the plain text, and every key is uniquely likely. This is a very important point in one-time code security algorithm. So what are the advantages of one-time code? It's very, very easily computable. You know, XOR operation will not take much time. So it's very easy to compute. And encryption and decryption are same operation. And bitwise XOR is very cheap to compute. And it is as secure as possible. So given a ciphertext, all plain texts are equally likely regardless of the attacker computation resources. These are some of the points which is given over there. But though there are advantages, we do have this demerits. So the demerit is that the key must be as long as the plain text. That is another demerit, because if the plain text size is very, very large, imagine that we need to have such a very large key. So that will advantage will also happen to be disadvantages in those circumstances. And it does not guarantee integrity. As I said, integrity will not be guaranteed by this one-time algorithm. And insecure the keys are reissued. As I said, once a key has been used for the particular process, for a particular encryption, the same key cannot be used for the next algorithm. So the insecure, this algorithm becomes insecure if the key has been reused. That is also one of the disadvantages. So next we have the modern block cipher. So far now, if you see clearly, we have been working on each and every bit. Okay, so we are taking a bit, for example, one-time code, we are taking a bit and we are XORing that bit with the key. So we are operating on the bit. As I said, there is a different version of the cryptographic algorithm. Like instead of taking bit, we can take group of bits, group of binary, and we can able to operate. So if we take group of binary and we can operate, that is known as a block cipher. So one of the best well-known predominantly used block cipher algorithm is, I think, again, a symmetric key algorithm. Like both the keys will be same for the sender and the receiver. Algorithm is nothing but DES. So the expansion of DES is nothing but data encryption standard. So now, as I said, the difference between the block cipher and cipher. So the block cipher processes messages in blocks, each of which is then encrypted or decrypted, like a substitution on very big character. Whereas the stream cipher always work in the bits. The stream cipher always work with the bit. So that's the difference you should know. What is block cipher? Block cipher always work with the group of binary bits will be taken and the block cipher will work. Whereas in the stream cipher always will take a bit byte at a time and use it for encryption and decryption. So as I said, since this block cipher will work in a single chunk of the block, so simple, it is known as it's operate always on the single chunk. Example, 64 bits we have for the DES. You can take the block size as 64 bits, and the same key is used for each and every block. Imagine that I have a use text, and I will divide that into each and every block. Each block will contain 64 bits, and the same key, as I said, this is a symmetric algorithm. The same key is used for each and every block for encryption. So the result should look like a random permutation, as if the plain bits were shuffled. So the only computation guarantee of secrecy, not possible to break. It's very, very expensive. We'll see why it is very, very expensive. This DES algorithm will use both the substitution and the transposition. So hence it is very tough to break this DES. And permutation, as I said, if we have 4 bit as an input, then the total number of permutation is nothing but 4 factorial. If I have n input bit, then total number of possible permutations is nothing but n factorial. So the idea is that split the plain text into blocks, and each block use the secret key to pick the permutation, rinse and repeat. So the entire plain text will be broken into many blocks, and all these blocks will be operated only by the same key. And then if you see the result of operating this key on this block from the plain text, the output will be very different. Very different in the sense you get the cipher text. So block cipher operation, if we this is a simpler way of block cipher operation. So if you take the plain text, then this plain text will be using this key, and this will be operating on each and every block. Imagine there are 4 blocks. In the first stage, we have 4 blocks. So this key will be operating on the 4 blocks. So add some second key bits to prevent confusion. Next, this box is known as X box. This is nothing but each X box permutates its input bits in a random making way by providing diffusion. Diffusion in the sense by providing some operation such that the plain text will be operated with the help of the key to provide this S box. That is basically permutes. As I said, again, the same key will be processed for each and every block. The block may be different. Plain text can be divided into many, many blocks, but each of the blocks will be operated only by the same key. Please understand the same key. So here the S box mainly does the permutation that I discussed. So now like this, it will go for several rounds and we'll get the blocks of cipher as an output. So these are some of the principles of the block cipher. And so it needs, it must be able to decrypt the cipher text to recover the message efficiently. The block cipher looks an extremely large substitution, and instead create the small building blocks, and it can work on it. So instead of having a very big the plain text, it can have a small plain text, and this small plain text can be called as a block, and it can be operated on this, and each and every block can be operated on the key, and we can able to get this cipher text. So as I said, the DES algorithm contains both this substitution as well as the permutation. We have seen this box, which is nothing but the substitution. Now we have, we're going to see how we're going to use this permutation also. So ciphertext in this DES algorithm needs to be completely a pure statistical property of the original message. So as I said, the weakness in the English algorithm, English language is nothing but the statistical factor involved in it. The statistical factor in the sense like we can easily say that E and T are the most frequent alphabets which is being repeated in English. So that will be the key factor for hackers to break the algorithm. So now our ultimate objective is that to eradicate the statistical observation from the English alphabet. So this DES, with the help of this confusion and diffusion, will eradicate the statistical property of the original message. So as I said, there are two different operations, one is nothing but diffusion and another is nothing but confusion. So diffusion dissipates the statistical sector of the plain text over the ciphertext, and the confusion makes the relationship between the ciphertext and the key as complex as possible. So diffusion main objective is that to break the statistical property in the ciphertext, and the confusion main objective is that to make the relationship between the ciphertext and the key as complex as possible. This was the objective of the diffusion as well as the confusion. So for now, we have seen some of the very basic primitive of the symmetric key algorithms, and now slightly we are moving into the DES. Okay, so as I said, DES encrypts using 64 encrypts the 64-bit data only with the help of 56-bit key. So it used 56-bit key to encrypt 64-bit data, and it has been widespread use. And there has been a considerable controversy over the security, but in spite of that, this algorithm is very popular. So this algorithm, this data encryption standard, was designed by IBM, and it was redeveloped commercially by National Security Agency. And in 1973, again, NBS issued a request for the proposal for the National Cyber Standard. Then IBM submitted the revised to Lucifer, which was eventually accepted as the data encryption standard algorithm. So this is how this data encryption standard algorithm works. So it has, as I said, each block will be of 64-bit, but it uses only 56-bit key size to operate on this each and every block. So we have initial permutation. Then each round will take the key, and then it will operate and will get the ciphertext. As I said, the strength of the DES algorithm is nothing but the key. As I said, it has the key size of 56. So the possible combination of keys is nothing but 2 power 56, which is nothing but 7.2 16 values. So by the values key, by looking at the key size, we can able to easily convey or conclude that this brute force attack is really a cumbersome task. So these are some of the points that should be noted while designing any cryptographic algorithm. Always you should have eye on the block size. So this block size will always directly proportional to the security. So if you increase the block size, it will always increase the security. But since you increase the block size, the encryption algorithm may become a little bit slow. Next, we have the key size. So increasing the key size also becomes it also enhances the security. As you see, as you increase on the key size, the number of possible keys also will be very large. So it will be very, very tough for the algorithm to explore all the possible combination of the key. So again, if you increase the key size, it will also increase the security. But once again, that at the cost of providing security, the encryption algorithm or decryption algorithm is going to suffer a lot because it has so many operations. Next, we have the number of rounds. So increasing the number of rounds also provides security, but again, it has its own computational cost. Next is subkey generation, round function, software and hardware, decryption, ease of analysis. So these are some of the design principles that has to be taken into consideration for designing the cryptographic algorithms. So we'll check now the confidentiality using this symmetric key encryption. So have the two major replacement alternatives. So one is nothing but link encryption, other is nothing but end-to-end encryption. So the link encryption occurs independently on every link, and it implies it to decrypt the traffic between the links. So if the communication link has been established between the sender and the receiver, then the encryption will occur independently on every link between the communicating parties. Next, we have the end-to-end encryption. This encryption occurs between the original source and the final destination, and the need device at each end with shared keys. So this is called end-to-end encryption. Like this encryption will occur between the source and the final destination. So far now we have seen the description detailed about the symmetric encryption algorithm, and now it's time for us to look into the asymmetric encryption, always known as the public encryption. This is the private key encryption. As I said, it will contain two keys. So one key will be used by the sender, and another key will be used by the receiver. So if the key is disclosed, the communication or no, we are now the key. You will have two keys. Now, before going into this private key cryptographic algorithm, we'll discuss some of the demerits of using the symmetric algorithm, like nothing but a single key algorithm. So if we have the traditional single key cryptographic algorithm, then transmitting the key from the sender to the receiver is a very toughest part. So though we have the Diffie key exchange algorithm and also, but then, and again that the Diffie-Hellman also suffers from man-in-the-middle attack. So sharing the key from the sender to the receiver in the symmetric algorithm is the very, very toughest part. So not to overcome that, we have this private key cryptography. In this algorithm, we have two keys. One key will be used by the sender, another key will be used by the receiver. These two keys are different. It is not the same like the symmetric algorithm. These are very, very different. So, as I said, this public key cryptography uses two different keys. One is the public key and private key. And the asymmetric key, since parties are since both keys, one key will be used for the mostly this public key will be used by the encryption part, and third key will be used by the decryption part. It's not a conventional that only public key is by sender. It can be interchanged also in some aspect that we're also going to discuss in the course of time.
Jaypriya ma'am, I think we need to play the second video. Yeah.
This is the pictorial representation of public key cryptography. As I said,
Hello.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to play the second video, ma'am.
Yes,
so
sir.
if I have every individual will have the public and private key. Imagine that I have Thiyagarajan. So I will have public key and I have private key of Thiyagarajan and public key of Thiyagarajan. This public key of an entity will be known to all parties who is involved in the communication. So imagine I'm communicating with you. So my public key will be open to all persons whoever willing to or intended to being a part of my communication group. So my public key will be known to all, but my private key will be known only by me. I will not reveal my private key to anyone. So this is what the pictorial representation of public key. As I said, this public key will be known to all. So in the encryption, the plain text will be converted to the ciphertext. So the plain text will be given as an input for the encryption algorithm, and one more input for the encryption algorithm is nothing but the public key. So as I said, this public key will be available known to all. So imagine there are 10 people in my communication group. So all public key will be stored here. So like it's like Bob's public key ring. So we'll have Joy's public key, Mike public key, Ali's public key, and Ted's public key. So imagine that Bob is want to send that to Ali's. So it will take this Ali's public key. So the Ali's public key will be operated on the plain text and will convert the ciphertext. So now this ciphertext will reach to who Ali's. This message was intended to Ali's from Bob. So now this ciphertext will be reached to this Ali's. Imagine that, as I said, every individual will have two keys. One is private key and public key. They are paired. A message is being encrypted by the public key can only be decrypted with a particular person private key. So I'm encrypting this message with Ali's public key. So this message can be decrypted only with Ali's private key. I cannot use any other key to decrypt it. Even if I do so, that will not get the meaningful plain text. So since it is being encrypted by Ali's public key, in the decryption part, Ali's private key will be used. As I said, this Ali's private key will be known only to Ali's, but this message was intended only to Ali's. Even if otherwise any person who receives this ciphertext will not be able to produce this plain text. So Ali's, on receiving this ciphertext, will use its own private key, which is known only to him, to get the meaningful plain text. I hope all clear in this diagram. These are some of the characteristics of this public key cryptography. It is computationally infeasible to find the decryption key, knowing the algorithm and the decryption key. And it is computationally easy to encrypt and decrypt message with relevant encrypt and decrypt key no. And it is either of the two related keys can be used for encryption with another used for decryption. This public key and private key are always related with some mathematical concept that we'll look in the 2 plus slide. So this is a enhanced version of this public key cryptography. Here, what I will do is that I will use two encryption and I will use two decryption. So in the first encryption, I have the message, and this message will be always encrypted by the private key of. Imagine that this, I will do two encryption. As I said, one will be done with the private key, one will be done by the public key. So I have a source A and destination B. So now this is very important figure that I want to have a little emphasis on that. So I have a message X. This message X, first it will be encrypted using the A's private key. So since it has been originating from A to B, so A will have the private key and its private key will be known by him only. You do not be shared with anyone. So the first encryption will be done with help of A's private key. Next, after this first encryption by the A private key, again this will be encrypted. That will be encrypted with public key of the recipient. Who is the recipient here? B is the recipient. The second encryption will be taken place by a public key of the recipient. So here, see, public key will be, again, you will be encrypting by using the public key of B. So next, now we will have the ciphertext. And the ciphertext, the first decryption will be done by the private key of B, and the second decryption will be done by the public key of A. So then we will get the message destination. So this is a very important figure where we have two encryption and two decryption. So by having the two encryption, apart from ensuring the confidentiality, we also ensure this non-repetition. What is non-repetition? We should discuss. Non-repetition is that a sender cannot deny that he has not sent the message. How here the non-repetition has been ensured? Because here the sender is using his private key to encrypt first. Since the sender is using his private key, already I said that the private key will be known only to the individual. Since the sender is encrypting by using his private key, later he cannot deny I am not encrypted. I am not sending this message. Why? Because the private key will not be known to others. Only it will be known to the individual. Since he is using the private key for the first encryption, later he cannot deny that I have not sent this message to me. So here in this, and of course, confidentiality has been ensured by using this public and private key. But apart from that, in this diagram, non-repetition is also an issue. So using this public key, we can also provide authentication, and we can also provide the key exchange that we're going to discuss in the subsequent slide. So now we're going to discuss the security of this public key schema. So like private key schema, brute force is very, very exhaustive. As I said, the brute force attacks on this public key, it will be very large because key size in this public key will be generally 512 bits. So imagine that 512 bits, the number of possible combinations will be 2 to the power 512 bits. So it's large enough, so it will not be cracked by this brute force attack. And it's generally a hard problem. So hard problem is nothing but a problem which cannot be solved in a polynomial time is known as a hard problem. So now I'm going to discuss this RSA public key cryptography algorithm. So this is one algorithm on Symmetric I have discussed this in detail. Similarly, in a public key cryptography algorithm in RSA, I'm going to discuss, which have two keys, private key and the public key. So for the first step in the RSA algorithm is that you have to choose two large prime numbers, nothing but P and Q. So it should be really large two prime numbers. You should not choose small prime numbers, large prime numbers. And the second step is that you have to compute n equal to P into Q. And you have to calculate Z, which is nothing but P minus 1 into Q minus 1. Third step is that you have to choose randomly E such that E should be always less than N. What is N here? N equal to P into Q. We have to choose E, that is E is less than N. And it should not have any common factors with Z. It means that E and E should be relatively prime. When I say E and Z are relatively prime, there should not be any common factors between E and Z. So like that, you have to choose the E. Now we have to choose G such that ED minus 1 is exactly divisible by Z. I have to choose randomly again D such that ED minus 1 is exactly divisible by Z. These are the first 4 primitive steps in this RSA algorithm. So now we have E, we have D, we have N. So now we have formed the key for the public key and we have the private key. So the private key is nothing but N comma D and the public key is nothing but N comma E. So we'll keep the private key as KB minus and we'll keep the public key as KB plus. So given the public key and the private key, now we can able to calculate the ciphertext. So you all know that M is the message. So now we have the key. So the message has to be operated on the what? Key. So we'll get the ciphertext is equal to M to the power E mod N, and the decryption is nothing but C power T mod N. So now we'll see how this, we will see the mathematics is involved in it. So I will take, to understand this algorithm, actually P and Q should be really very large prime numbers. But to understand how this algorithm works, I have taken P and Q as a very small number. So let the P be 5 and Q be 7. So you all know N is nothing but P into Q, which is nothing but 35. And I have Z as 24 and E as 5. And you know, E and Z should be relatively prime. If you take E 5 and Z 24, there is no common factors. Next, I have chosen D. So you have to choose the D such that ED minus 1 is exactly divisible by Z. So ED minus 1, if you carefully note, it will be always divisible by 24. So I have now P, Q, two large prime numbers. I have N, I have encryption key, I have the decryption key. So if we have the letter, imagine that I have a letter L, and I'm going to now operate. I'm going to now encrypt this letter L. You know, the letter L stands 12th in number in the alphabet. So I put this, convert this letter to a number called 12, because if you calculate the order of the alphabet which L occurs is nothing but 12. So now I'm going to encrypt this 12. So what is the key here? Key is nothing but the E. So formula for the encryption is equal to m to the power E mod N. So m to the power E is nothing but 1524832. And if we want to use a formula C equal to m to the power E mod n, if we use that mod n, the ciphertext will be 17. So now the ciphertext 17 will be communicated, and once this 17 has been reached to the receiver, you have to convert this ciphertext from the ciphertext to plain text. The ciphertext is 17. So this 17 again, you has to be operated on the what? It has to be operated on the, it has to operate by the key. So the 17 operated on the key. So now we have the C, and what is D? D is 29. So 17 to the power 29 is nothing but such a huge number. And this such a huge number, if you mod N with N, you'll get 12. So now 12, if you convert to the corresponding alphabet, it will be L. So this, you can try this. So please take this and try, and you can really appreciate the working of this algorithm. So mathematically, if you see how this algorithm works, it's very simple. You know that the encryption is nothing but, what is encryption? What is encryption? If M is the message, it will be m to the power E mod n. And what is decryption? Take the encryption text, and it should be power D mod n. So I have written that. Decryption is nothing but n to the power E mod n, and reach to the power D mod n. So if I use this power root, it will be m to the power ED mod n. But you all know n is nothing but p minus 1 into q minus 1. So m to the power ED mod p minus 1 q minus 1 into q minus 1 mod n. But you all know that ED mod p minus 1 into q minus 1 will always result to 1 according to the number theory. If you want, you can take the previous example and knock out is E into D mod p minus 1 q minus 1 will be always 1. So since it is 1, it will be m to the power 1 mod n. Okay. So since we choose ED to be divisible by p minus 1 and q minus 1 with remainder 1, the m to the power mod n will be always m. This is the mathematical working of this RSA algorithm. Next, the following property is very, very useful. See, first, I've used the public key followed by the private key. So for now, we have discussed in detail about the public encryption. Next, we're going to discuss on hashes and digital signature. So you all know digital signature is nothing but a cryptographic technique. It is very similar to the handwritten signature. A signature is very unique to an individual, and similarly, digital signature it's analogous to that by using the cryptographic technique. So sender digitally signs a document establishing that he is the document owner or the creator, and it is always verifiable at the receivable. At the receiving end, it is always verifiable that who was signed. And the digitally signed document is not able to forge by any other persons who is intruding. These are some of the inputs for the digital signature. And this is a sample diagram of the sample digital signature message. Imagine that I have a message. Bob has a message to send to allies. The message is, "Dear allies, oh, how I missed you. I think of you all the time." So he written something. So this is a message from Bob to allies. So this message will be taken as an input. And since Bob is sending this message to allies, so Bob will always encrypt it with his private key of Bob. So it will encrypt. So then it will send to allies. So that message, Bob has signed the message with his own private key. So carefully note the message in digital signature, the encryption will be done with the help of the private key of the sender. So the Bob signs the ends by encrypting his private key. So he uses his private key for sending the message. Suppose allies receive this M, which is signed by the private key of Bob, because Bob is sending this message. So allies want to now verify M is signed by the Bob or not. So since, as I said, digital signature, because digital signature always we can verify the authenticity who has signed it. So now allies want to check whether this message has been signed by Bob or not. How we can check that it's signed by Bob or not? If we use the Bob's public key and he can able to get the message, then he can make sure that this message has been signed by the Bob. So allies verify the message signed by the Bob by using the Bob's public key. So if we use now private key is minus and public key is plus. So if we use this Bob's public key, it will be KB plus of KB minus of M. So both the key cancel will get the M. So now we can, in this mechanism, if you carefully verify, now allies can verify that this message has been signed by Bob. No one has signed apart from the Bob, that can be verified. And Bob also, allies can also determine that Bob has signed the message M, not the M dash. One more thing, like we can able to verify with this digital signature is that non-repetition. Like Bob has sent this message to allies. Later, Bob cannot deny that he has not signed because he used his private key for signature. These are some of the advantages of digital signature. I hope you all now understood what is the signature. Digital signature always will encrypt using the private key. Keep that in mind. Now we're going into details about the digital signature. For that, we need to have the checksum. So internet checksum has some properties which is similar to the hash function. So it provides a fixed length digest of 16-bit of sum. So it is many to one. It means that the checksum and this hash function, what does it do? It will take inputs of variable size. If you give inputs of variable size to this checksum as well as hash function, output will be a fixed size. That is called many to one. Many to one is many text of different size, many inputs of different size, but output will be uniform if you give that to the hash or the checksum. So here I have given you a sample format. So by giving the message, given a hash value, it is easy to find another message with that. But given a message, if we have a message with a hash value, so you can easily find a similar message with the hash value. For example, take the message. I have a message like IOU100.99BOB. So if we calculate the hash value for this message, it will be B2C1D2AC. But if I have a different modified message version like IOU900.19BOB, even if for this message I can able to define the same hash value. So the hash value of two different messages are same. So this is how this hash value works. But we need to overcome this. So for that, to overcome that, we have this message writers. So this message writers is nothing but a hash function. In hash function, you can take any large message, and if you put as an input for the hash function, the output will be a fixed size. So why we need to have this hash function? So imagine that the message is really very large. For the message to be encrypted is of very large size. Imagine that if I want to operate the key on the very large size message, it will take a lot of time. So in order to avoid that, we can use this message digest or otherwise called as hash function. It is computationally expensive to use this public key encryption for the long messages. So message, if it imagine that it is of 1 TB message, imagine that 1 TB message has to be encrypted, then it will take huge amount of time. So not to avoid that, what I can do, I can use a hash function. What does hash function do? It will take a message of variable size and to give only one output of fixed size. Irrespective of the input size, it will give only fixed size output. So this message size is basically used when you have a large message for encryption. So the goal is that fixed length as an output, easy to compute and digital fingerprint. So there are many properties of the hash function. As I said, it is many to one. Many to one in the sense you take input of various size and output will be always fixed size, and it provides fixed size message digest. It is nothing but fingerprint. One more important property of the hash function is that it is not reversible. Given m, we can compute h of m, but given h of m, we cannot compute m. So given a message digest x, computationally infeasible to find m such that x equal to h of m. The reverse process is not possible in the message digest. Very important property of the hash function. This is the overall diagram of digital signature. So imagine that this is how the digital signature works. Complete pictorial representation. I have a message m, it's a very large size message. Since the message size is very large, applying the public key cryptographic algorithm is very tough. So I have used hash function. If we use hash function, the output will be h of m of fixed variable length. And this h of m, I will use the digital signature. You all know the digital signature we always use private key of sender. So now I will use who is sender? Bob is a sender. So private key of Bob I will use, and I will encrypt this h of m. So digital signature will be there. So now what will happen? I will have this encrypted. I have the encrypted hash function. So it is nothing but kb minus of h of m. So that will be always XORed with the large message. It will be concatenated with the large message. So now this large message concatenated with this encrypted message digest will now reach to the Bob. Will now reach to the allies. Now allies will send, Bob will send this large message concatenated with encrypted message digest. So these large messages and the encrypted message digest will now reach to the allies. So allies on receiving it, it will separate the large message and it will separate the encrypted message digest. So that will be done by the allies for the first stage. After separating this encrypted message digest, now it has to check whether Bob has sent this message or not. How he can check? He can always decrypt by using the Bob's public key. By decrypting the Bob's public key, we will get now the message digest something but h of m. We can get hash h of m will get. Now another part we have separated the large message, right? Again we will apply the hash function which is used by the Bob, and again we'll get the h of m. So now if you verify the both h of them, it should be equal. If it is not equal, then we can clearly conclude that there is some hacker intrusion in transmitting the message from Bob to allies. This is how the digital signature works. Apart from ensuring that the message has been originated from particular entity, we can also ensure that integrity can also be ensured by using this digital signature. That's a very important point to be observed here. So now we're going to see digital signature you have seen. Now we're going to discuss on digital envelope. So this digital envelope is a combination of symmetric as well as this symmetric key. So it generates a secret key, and this secret key will be very, very random. Only that will be generated for a particular session. So it encrypts the digital envelope. It can encrypt the message using the session key and the symmetric algorithm. Then encrypt the session key with the recipient public key. This becomes a digital envelope. We'll now see how this digital envelope works with the help of a diagram. This is the pictorial representation of digital envelope creation. So in digital envelope creation, we have the first step, we have the document, and we have the symmetric encryption. As I said, this is the combination of symmetric and asymmetric. So we'll take a message and we'll have the symmetric key. And then we will use once we get this document and the symmetric key, then we will have the encrypted document message. But how will you get the symmetric key? That symmetric key is a combination of random message key and that random message key will be always encrypted with the recipient public key. So that will form the symmetric key description. So there are two steps. Imagine the first step is that we have a document, and the second step is that we need to generate the key. How the key is being generated? As I said, for this digital envelope, we have a session key that is only valid for the particular period. So we will generate a random message key, and that random message key we will encrypt with recipient public key. So by now, if you see now we have two different keys being used. One is nothing but a symmetric encryption, and another is nothing but asymmetric encryption. Carefully note, we have asymmetric key encryption. How? See here, document, it is being encrypted with the symmetric key. Next, we generate a session key, and that session key is encrypted with using the recipient public key. Okay, so now this will contribute the digital envelope. And how we can open the digital envelope? So now we'll have this envelope as well as the text. So now we will separate. Now we have the. Now, as I said, first it has to be decrypted using the encrypted. Now we can see how it can be opened. Now we have to encrypt the message key. Then we can now we'll use the recipient private key. Then we will have this random access secret key, and then we will operate this random secret key on this encrypted document to get the document message. This is how the digital envelope works. Next, we're going to see about the key distribution digital certificate. So, as I know, that's for the symmetric algorithm, the key from the center to the receiver has to be shared through some mechanism. The symmetric key requires both the party to share a common secret key. So the issue is that how securely you can distribute this key. Often secure system fails due to break in the key distribution schema. Somehow we have to transmit the key securely from the sender to the recipient part in the symmetric algorithm. So there are various ways by which you can share the key between A and B. So A can select the key and physically it can deliver to P, or it can rely on a third party that can deliver the key to A and B. Or if A and B has communicated previously, can use previous key to decrypt a new key. Or otherwise, A and B have secure communication with third party C. C can relay the key between A and B. These are some of the possible options by which you can share the key between A and B in symmetric algorithm. But there is a problem if you have the trusted entities and all in between A and B for transmitting the keys. Again, that will lead to a problem. How do two entities establish a shared key over a network? So the solution is that you can always have the trusted key distribution center, otherwise known as KDC, that act as an intermediary between two parties. Like you have a trusted intermediate between A and B, and that trusted that middleman has to be authenticated and it has to be checked for all aspects so that you can reliably transmit the keys between A and B. Another problem is that when Alice obtains a Bob's public key, how does she know it's a Bob public key or not? So imagine I'm getting a recipient key. Suppose I want to send a message to a student. I'm getting a student's public key. But how do I know that it is that student public key? That public key may be also forced by an hacker, right? But that is also a big problem with respect to this digital signature. So how for that to get the proper public key, we need to have a trusted certification authority. We'll see that. So this key distribution center, as I said, it will be a center where trusted center where we have a public key of different entities who are taking part in the communication. Alice and Bob need a shared symmetric key. So this KDC key distribution center serves as a shared different secret key which each other registered users. So this KDC will have a list of registered users where the user can register their key along with their identity. So anyone who wants to get the public key can approach this KDC because the KDC will always verify the authenticity with respect to the public key which is submitted. So always that key which is operating the KDC will be not forgeable. So public key encryption helps address key distribution problem, but have two aspects of the distribution of public key. Use of public key encryption to distribute secret keys. The next distribution of public key, as I said, how to make sure that the public key of the intended people is correct or not. So how we can, how I will declare my own public key. So I can make a public announcement that this is my public key, or otherwise I can put my public key available in a common directory, or otherwise I can give my public key to an authority who will authorize me as well as my key, or otherwise I can have the public key certificates. So public announcement, user distribute public to the recipient, and broadcast. Broadcast means that sending a message to all. That is nothing but this is my public key. That will be shared as a common message to all the people who were in the communication link with me. So, but there are major issues with it. Major weaknesses, forgery. In public key, there are this kind of public announcement. There are major weaknesses. Like anyone can create claiming to be someone else and broadcast it. Instead of I'm communicating my own public key to others, my forged hacker can say that I'm Thiyagarajan, my public key is there. That may happen with this public announcement. So for that and all, to eradicate that, we have the certificate authority, very important concept. The certificate authority binds a public key to a particular entity. So what does happen if I want to give a public key to certificate authority? I have to give my proof of identity and I have to give a public key. This proof of identity and the public key will be authorized by the certificate authority. So E provides a proof of identity to the certificate authority, and the certificate authority creates a binding E to my public key. With the help of my identity provider, there will be a binding E to my public key. So it's nothing but an E of persons, comma, router. So the certificate containing each public key digitally signed by the certificate authority. So if you see this certificate, it will be looking like this. So imagine that Bob is approaching this certificate authority to authorize its public key. So what does it do? Bob will give its identity information as well as Bob give its public key to this certificate authority. What this certificate authority do will check whether Bob identity is correct, and it will check whether it's a Bob public key. After verifying that these are all correct, two inputs, Bob identity information and Bob's public key is correct, what does it do? This certificate authority will sign that using its own private key. Then the certificate for Bob public key is signed by the CE. The certificate authority, once if he signs by his certificate authority private key, then that is called a digital certificate. By using this digital certificate, the public key of all users cannot be forged. You can always approach the certificate authority. Certificate authority will give the public key of any person who is involved in the communication. So what will happen now? I want Bob public. Imagine that I want Bob's public key. So what will happen? I will approach that certificate authority. So certificate authority give me a certificate which will be signed by his own private key. So now I will get that. And after getting that, what I have to do? I will again have to decrypt because it has been encrypted by certificate authority private key. Now I have to decrypt it. So now I will know because I'm approaching certificate authority public will be known to all. So now the certificate authority public key will be decrypted by certificate authority. Certificate authority private key will be decrypted by certificate authority public key. So once I decrypt it, I will be able to get the Bob's public key. So when I want the Bob's public key, Bob's get their certificate, apply CS public key to Bob's certificate. That's all. This is a sample certificate, digital certificate. It will have a serial number, it will have a certificate owner, include what are the algorithms it used, what is the key value. So these are the things will be there in the certificate. This is how this will be the info about certificate issuer who is issuing the certificate, valid dates, and digital signature of the user.
Ma'am, this will be the last slide, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
we can stop here. We can have the
summary. We introduced about the cryptography key.
So thank you for the passion listening, and it's a 1.5 hours presentation. Considering the depth of the topic, I need to provide the nuances of it. Hence, the presentation is very lengthy. Thanks for listening. And now the session is open for question and answer. If you have any questions, please let me know. Any questions? Class, if you have any questions, participant, please. So, if there are no other questions, thank you so much for your passion listening. And still, if you have any questions and if you want to reach me, I will share my email ID in the chat box. You can feel free to contact me. I will be very, very happy to explain the concepts if you need so. So thank you for the encouraging comments in the chat box, and I have shared my email ID, and I'm sharing my mobile number as well as the WhatsApp number in the chat box. You can feel free to ask me any of the doubts with respect to this presentation or in general in respect to any academic topics. So I have shared my mobile number as well as the WhatsApp number. So please do stay in touch. And thank you so much for your patient listening. Thank you so much for the organization committee for inviting me. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. It's really a wonderful session, sir. So as the participants don't have any single questions, it shows the clarity of your lecture, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much. May I leave? May I leave the call?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.